So just to, I'm going the next 10 minutes, I'm just going to set some a few slides to set the context on, why we feel the tool, which I'm going to show, it's really could help, right? See, I think the reality of today's data-rich digital world is this, right? I think, there is so much amount of data. Users still struggle to get quality access to quality data. And then, as I said, more and more, we have what is called as the momentary information need. Okay. I gave those scenarios, it could be in a meeting, you're talking to a customer, or rather, in the airport. At this particular instance, we're always on the phone and then, chatting with somebody, but at the same time, we are spending time, calling someone to access the data, or really number crunching or Excel sheets, or, various reports, trying to get the answers, with data, right? And also, there are too many BI tool sets. Especially since we cater to so many diverse user persona, right? There is one tool for this. There is a self-service tool, there is a dashboard, there is a scorecard, reports, Excel sheets, whatnot. There are plenty of them, used by different people. And at this, and the sixth one, I'm sure, it's also very common. I can definitely relate to it, having spent so many years, with data and BI, right? I think this is a very familiar, area of concern for many enterprises. It's just like, analytics projects, they do take their own time, right? So the other thing is, while we are looking at so many different diverse BI reports and tools, at the end of the day, what we're really trying to do is, if you really think about it, we are trying to get answers to questions, right? So I've just given a few examples here, in terms of, hey, when I'm really analyzing my website's performance, or rather, the visitors, I'm trying to get answers around, hey, what pages do users really spend time on? What is the bounce rate for this page, right? Or rather, there are like so many different which so many different answers for the different BI users, in terms of, I think these answers is what is really, helping us do our day-to-day work, right? So all these are basically, even though we try to get these answers through the various BI tools and reports, at the end of the day, these are all questions. That's what we have in our mind, right? So our motive is more around, hey, if these are the questions we have, why can't we just let the users ask these questions, right? So what do I really mean by that? Let me just quickly jump to one demo here. I'll just show this while, just give me 1 second. Okay, so this is where you can see my screen now, right?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So I was telling you about, how a conversational approach could really help. Say if you really look at it here, just like how we have a chat interface, right? Whether it is Microsoft Teams, Slack, or Google Chat, whatever it is, right? I think a similar interface, similar experience can be really used to get answers. Say, for example, I'm going to ask questions like, say, let me take this here. So this is on a, one of data set for an insurance industry around health insurance, right? So basically, I'm just trying to get an idea of, say policies, or let me even make it a little bit. So, okay, so I'm just asking a question like this, and so it just comes back, just gives me the data, the number, and so many other things, right? Now, say for example, I can even change this question to say, instead of specific yes, a time frame, I can even modify it to something like, hey, say, let me pick a kind of, say, Georgia. Okay. So now, since it is trying to analyze the data, right? So it just, hey, by the way, you mentioned Georgia. I know it is a state, but there are so many other data attributes here, which one are we really talking about? So I just say, hey, this is for the customers. I'm just basically trying to find out how many customers, or rather, in Georgia did we get, right? So now I have something like this. just how we would have a conversational interface, right? So I was looking at the data for, say, Georgia. Now let me, even I can change it to, by the way, how about, say, Alabama? See, it carries the context from the previous question, because we were really talking about the data for, for the time frame of first quarter of 2021. And it knew that, hey, but Alabama is also a state very similar to Georgia. So I'm just going to use the context from my previous question. And then, I'm trying to get the answers, right? So now I could engage a conversation. Say, for example, I can even go, okay, by the way, so now all it's going to do is it's going to retain from the previous question, say Georgia instead of the time frame of first quarter. I mean, I can keep, just going on engaging in a conversation like this, right? So I can do it is asking me, hey, by the way, would you like to segment it by any of these dimensions, or, and even if you look at the response here, there are quite a few in the sense, one is it's able to get the numbers, and then, there is, since we are talking about a quarter, it just gives me a visual of, by the date, and it is also giving me a few more insights in the sense, by the way, hey, this gone up by, say, close to 72% over a similar time period. So it's like basically compared to the first quarter, so this number has really gone up by this, and you have an option to look at the underlying data. There are so many things like this, right? So this is exactly what really mean by a conversation interface. So you have um, like just how we would engage in a conversation, with our fellow human beings. Now you are basically chatting. In this case, a platform. I'll just explain a little more, in the coming slides. Our platform, which is Kia, it's completely white labeled for any enterprise application. So it's you have an ability to onboard any data sets. I mean, so I have quite a few examples here, right? And you just pick, in this case, I'm using a health insurance data set, and, you just start engaging in a conversation, and then, try to get these answers, right? So when we say that, it is a conversation, it's you are not just limited by any specific metrics or all these things, whatever you see, all these answers, these are coming out of the box. You are not just constrained by any particular or rather predefined questions and answers. All these on, say for example, so these are the various, I mean, this is the data glossary for this particular one, right? I mean, these are grouped by numbers to categories to, whatnot. You can ask any kind of questions on this. Say, for example, I can say, hey, so I'm just talking about, say, for example, I don't know the attribute name, right? So what I can do is I can go here, say, this is the, so I can just bring it here. And say, I just want to look at it by across, say, a particular product type. Okay, so now it's just going to give me the answer for this particular one, right? I think that's the whole idea behind having something like a conversational interface, when you really try to ask these questions on the data, in simple English constructs, right?